Hello everyone, just joining to those watching things back on the VOD either here on Twitch or on YouTube, depending on when you're watching it back. Welcome to another stream and welcome to another game development stream. It's been a little bit of time since we did one of these, though the last time we did one of these it was very enjoyable and way better than the first one that I did. We're back to this small prototype project that we were working on the last time, and not too much has changed with it. Though, I guess that's mainly due to the fact that I've been pretty busy with a lot of things personally, so I haven't found too much time to work on it in between the last stream and this stream. But I plan on rectifying that today by doing at least a little bit in terms of tweaks and possibly implementing new stuff, but that again depends on what I can possibly think of would work here, if that makes sense. So enough of me rambling on. I'm gonna throw on the music, and it's more Xenoblade Chronicles music because I do not apologize for this. But we will be doing our best to just try and get on with things and, you know, just get along, get on, keep our minds off of like the stresses of the day, especially if you yourself have had a stressful day, or I myself have had a very sort of long and emotional day. So it'll be a nice change of pace to sort of get through things, and if there's anything that we can think of, like either I or chat can think of, then that's ideas that we can try throwing on there. So in terms of what I've done since the previous game development stream, if I can get play mode to load and not take an eternity to load. I think also because I only just booted up the project not too long ago, and because I hadn't used play mode while I was, you know, getting things prepped, it's taking so long. But I did some tweaking to the air dash a little bit, so distance has been adjusted slightly. So there was also a thing that I was noticing where it was possible for the player to just continuously spam air dash, which is not really what I want. I want the player to be able to use it in succession, but not, you know, immediately and just continuously spam it. So one of the things I did since previous stream was sort of go in and tweak the air dash so that the player can only trigger it when they're not currently in it, and also they can only trigger it a max of 2 times before touching the ground. Yeah, so in that instance where it looked like I did it 3 times, that was because I think there was like either this ledge here or this ledge there that the player touched, so it would just refresh the number of air dashes they can do. And of course it just works normally anyway. Also, there is the matter of wall jumping. I've gotten it to work, though it's not without its hiccups. where for some reason, I don't know if it's because of player input or something else that happens with calculating how to rotate the player away from the wall, but for some reason, it just kind of sort of like twists them to the side somewhat, and that of course just kind of results in, when trying to do another wall jump input, just doing an air dash instead, unless you were to sort of strictly hold the direction towards the wall, which is not exactly what I want to happen. So I think during stream today I may try and tweak that as well. Like, running is still the same, though one thing I do want to do eventually, not right now, but eventually, and I think because I almost got ahead of myself with this and tried to focus on doing this, it's why I haven't been able to find time to get around to working on this even further, because I want to avoid burning myself out. The one thing I was trying to do was try and find, like, instead of the player's normal run animation for sprinting, like, have an entirely different animation that they blend into. But because I was trying to get ahead of myself, I was at risk of just burning myself out completely, just trying to do so much all at once. So I put a stop to that, just slowed myself down, and said, you know what, we'll just get around to it when we can. What I really want to do is just get functionality working. I want it to function, then I want to sort out animations and visuals and stuff. And also, if you notice what I just if you notice what I did just there, if not, then I'll do it again. The player now has like a sort of stomp or ground pound, or however I want to flavor this. At the moment, it will just completely freeze the player in midair and then do like the downward motion, and it doesn't necessarily do anything sort of to things in the environment yet, but I will sort of try and look into possibly making a sort of tag or collision like preset that basically says, I am an object that can be destroyed or affected by this. I can be affected by the stomp, and when I am hit by the stomp, I will be destroyed. And that's basically it. I also have like a small little test sort of thing that I was testing, like the wall jumps and the air dashes for, so if I take a running start and then air dash, then I can get here. If I just... See, there we get it eventually. We get there eventually, but it's kind of awkward having to do the whole, like, unless we really need to sort of, like, go anywhere else. I want it to be easy to just kind of jump from wall to wall if we have, like, a long vertical stretch where you just wall jump. And that's one thing I'm attempting to try and sort out. So, but before any of that, I need to run a check on the... That's not it, it's BP player. So I need to check what their rotation is at a given moment. Because then it just kind of does it inaccurately, and I think what I want is that depending on, like, that sets it to 90, that's like, it's a difficult thing to consider, because at the moment, if I go into the code, and it's still on this right, it's still on this screen. If I go into the code right here, and I shrink this, because this is all, whoops, but this is difficult to properly see things. Where is wall jump? Check the wall jump. So, yep. So, wall jump, which is right here. At the moment, in terms of setting the player's, like, rotation, we basically take the wall, or the normal from the wall hit, and we were doing this before. If you weren't here for the previous game dev stream, definitely give that a little bit of a look, because I do kind of explain what the hell I was doing with this logic for the wall jump. But to sum it up, basically, we get Vector pointing in, and oh hello JetBrains Rider, I know that my license expires in 7 days. I don't like that. What are fallback options? Okay, don't mind me. I was checking to see what the hell I was talking about with fallback licenses, but that's for when things expire. Oh, it says renew your subscription to use the latest versions. Ah. So if I still have this version, then it's not necessarily a problem. Anyway, I got distracted by that. So, we're getting the normal from the wall. Basically, Vector pointing in direction away from the wall. And basically, we're getting the player's current, like, this is a thing that I added, like, since previous stream. So wall normal is used for saying, oh, this is this is like pointing away from the wall with these X, Y, and Z values. And if I go into the output log, because it was doing this here, and if I just refresh it, because it'll be easier if I point it out here. So if I also don't forget to move stream back to this screen, like this is still pointing like away from this wall at x equals -1 and so on. Which is pretty neat. However, I feel like while this is more of a dynamic solution for trying to set a player's rotation, it does seem to have its hiccups, I guess, relative to the location, because I think, rather than measuring, like the angle between, like, this thing pointing away from this wall and the player, I'm actually measuring the angle between two vectors, like, in a different space. So if I take... So, like, instead of actually saying, oh, it's, like, measuring the angle between the player and the thing pointing away from this wall, it's actually measuring the angle between the player and the point at whatever it's spitting out here, and I think that's causing the problem. So, what I'm hoping to try and do, if I go in here, now this is supposed to be 0, or, yeah, like, like, if I stood facing this wall and I jump off of it, I want the player, like, and the normal is, like, x equals -1, then I want the player to be set to, like, 180 degrees. If it's like x equals 1, then I want them to be set to 0. If it's like y equals 1, then I want them set to like 90, and then basically -90 for x equals, or y equals -1. Though I guess the complications arise if I stop strictly using walls for, like, wall jumping at, like, predetermined angles, and I try and do it, like, say, for example, if I drag this, and also the Xenoblade music is wooey, picking up a lot. But, for example, say if I had a wall at this kind of angle. And let's say that I was just using the system of, oh, if x is 1, then it will set to this angle. If x is -1, then it will set to this angle. If y is 1 or -1, then it will be set to this angle, blah de blah de blah. If I wasn't properly taking that into account, and I was like, that for some reason works. Somehow that works. But again, I reckon it's like, because it's all relative to, say, like, I'm trying to think. Let me just look up a thing. That does not... this is all units, like, bearing in mind, I'm looking at this stuff in the background while the screen is still here, and I'm looking things up, and why is it only giving me stuff for Unity when I am not developing in Unity, I'm developing in Unreal? Rotation from X vector. Actually, that might actually work. Also, I may need to actually turn down Opera again a little bit, just in case. Because I always underestimate how loud some of the stuff I pick out to listen to on stream is. Like, sometimes I think it's going to be... or it's just going to be dead quiet. And then... like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how much I underestimate it. So... with that being said, now that we've gone through that, we're going to go back into Rider. I'm gonna save the editor, close the editor, because booting it up again from Rider, and then being able to sort of close it, and then sort of compile and then open again, works a whole lot better from what I found during the last game dev stream, so... Wall force is... so wall normal times wall normal, yep. Right, I don't need that, because I feel like that's not really working out. I mean, I could always go back to it, like, if what I'm thinking here doesn't really work. So... I forgot already. And I need to actually refresh my memory on how to do this in C++. So it's... make rod from X. Yep, there we go. if rotator new rotation equals wall normal dot oh wait, no, it's U Kismet. Is it system or math library? It's math library. U Kismet math library. Make rot from X, and then we throw in the old wall normal. And then set active rotation, and we set it to new rotation. And I'm hoping that this does indeed work, because I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I'm assuming that it will just take whatever the rotation is facing towards, and then just translate it to how I'm rotating the character. But, you know, we're just trying things out. We're not entirely sure of some things at this point yet, but we're trying things out. We're seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then okay, and my tea is all done. That didn't take long. So now that I've given it a moment, we're gonna try compiling and running. And if you've been here before, then you already know what's up. If you haven't been here before, welcome. And also, yeah, this is going to take a while to compile. So in the meantime, we're going to try and talk about what I have planned in terms of mechanics, or I do TP to be the first one. What do you mean? Oh, that's not a proper error, it's just it throwing a fit, because it's like, oh no! It's not the first one included! Yeah. But anyway, as I was saying, so in terms of like mechanics and ideas that I want for the player, because in terms of like what we have for movement, like we have like just, I mean, running is a given, sprinting kind of expected from like a platformer, because you have it for Mario. I mean, it's not like necessarily like a requirement for a platformer, but it is kind of like one of the things that you may or may not expect from a platformer. But we have like the sprint, we have the wall jump, we have the air dash, which is not commonplace, but also at the same time, you know, it does just kind of work here. And then we have wall jumping as well, and stomping. But in terms of anything else, like, here's the thing, I do want to try and implement more bits, but at the same time, I don't want to overburden myself with too much work, and also possibly just be consumed by scope creep, at which point it would just become difficult to manage when I'm trying to do so much and implement so much and try and say, yeah, this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that, just to make it this different or that different. And I don't necessarily want that to happen. So I want it to be like a little bit sort of like, I want little bits to be there, but at the same time, I don't want it to be so little or so large, because otherwise I will just rip my hair out trying to do things. And also, I'm trying to get into my JetBrains account, because I cannot remember how to get into it, and I'm also making sure to try and check, wait, do I have a fallback version or fallback license for when this license runs out? Because I don't want to have to stop using Rider and go back to Visual Studio. Because while I'm very acquainted with Visual Studio, I don't want to have to go back to using it because it's so slow for compiling in Unreal. So yeah, also, is this going well? Is it? It's taking its time. It's always on the first compile. I really, to be fair, I've had. Today has been a very long day. What do you mean the passwords do not match? God damn it. But I really haven't had the chance to try and properly compile things to sort of get it ready for running on the stream, so apologies if this is taking longer than would be preferred, but you're stuck with compile times that will take a long time on the first compile. And also, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I'm trying to create a long-winded... Because this website doesn't like my normal passwords, I have to come up with a long-winded one. And because I'm trying to come up with a long-winded password, every so often I have that one moment where I just forget. So this is taking me longer than I would like to find out if I have a fallback option for developing with the software just in case the license runs out. Oh, whoops. Jesus. There we go. How do I do this? So, what is perpetual? Ow. Okay, now I read the fine print on the website. I only get that if I'm perpetually subscribed to like the JetBrains rider license for like 12 months. That's not good. That is very fun and very cool and very fun and very cool. Right. Well, this is taking its time. This is taking longer than I thought it would normally do. But then again, that's me thinking, oh, it's not going to take so long, but then it does take a long time. So, you know what? That's on me. But I do want to try and get this sorted because, although this is not so much on the technical side, in terms of just feel, it would just be very nice to just kind of, well, have this looking decent when the player jumps off of a wall and they just automatically look at the direction that they're supposed to be looking in and not just, you know, be put, like, rotated towards a similar direction and have it not be exact. I love it. Oh, warning, angle, undeclared identifier. Whoops. It took me a while. I got there in the end. Oh, yep, nope. Now I know why, because I did not comment out or get rid of that one line. That was entirely my fault. So at the very least, I know that it may not take so long next time because, well, it's already done a lot of the work. But at the same time, it may play stupid funnies with me and actually just take even longer just because I changed that line by commenting it out. But, well... oh well. We just keep going. Oh, there we go! That literally did it instantly. What the fuck? It's just booting itself up now, which, you know, good result. Right, perfect. There we go. Right, so if we go back in here, which takes a moment. So, with that change, I don't know how this is going to affect things, as I already said, because this is literally me testing things out. Like, I know a fair bit about Unreal Engine and working in C++ with Unreal Engine, but there are still some unknowns that, you know, that are very apparent. So that works. If I was to set this, so it's working so far. I think that actually managed to fix things. Like, there's no longer the awkward, you know... Oh, whoops. Well, I didn't mean to just jump into the void, but there's no longer the awkward, like, player rotating slightly away and not fully in the direction that I want. So, that's... Oh, except for then, but that might have been my fault too. That works. That works a lot better, which is very good. So that's one of the small little things that I wanted to fix, or wanted to do. Another thing that I want to try and sort out, and just to sort of go over things. At the moment, like, the stomp just kind of doesn't do anything. It does the whole player freeze in midair and then quickly pushes them down. But at the moment, there's no functionality for it to, say, break open boxes or hurt, like, certain types of enemies, depending on, like, what I want it to do. At the moment, it just doesn't really do anything. So, what I want to at least get functioning is for there to be a sort of system in place where when the player is falling and they detect something under their feet while doing the stomp, that it just kind of, you know, checks whether or not the thing that it detects is like a destructible object. And if it is a destructible object, then it will be, or not even just like a destructible object, just an object that can be damaged, or it can be damaged by the player's stomp. If, like, that does anything to it, then it will just, like, trigger a bit of code in relation to it. That's what I want to try and do. But at the same time, but we'll see how much we can get done with it. So, if we go back into the code, because I'm going to have to create a couple of new values and a couple of new functions in order for or one or two new functions for this to work. So if we close the editor and then go, let's see, so let me think for a moment. So, oh wait, ball B is stomping. So B is stomping already exists. So I don't need to actually do anything. I already basically did that where, hold on. Okay, so B is stomping is set when start stomp, and when the player lands, then B is stomping is set to false. And then down here, where I have it say get in air action or get disable movement. No, yeah, it'll be get disable movement. While the player is either air dashing or they're stomping, they can't alter the direction that they're going in based on, like, oh, if they're air dashing or if they're stomping, they can't just change which direction they're going, or they can't move at all normally. Like, with air dashing, they're just being pushed forward in a direction that they were already holding towards. So I don't want any changes after that point. And with stomping, it's only like a brief moment where the player just stops moving and then stomps. And I don't want them to be able to just kind of even if it's slowly, just kind of move while they're trying to stomp. So that's how this works. This basically does this, and then it will disable the ability for the player to move while this is happening. So that's how that works. So I suppose all we really need is a method that is called when they are stomping. So void check or stomp target. Oh, hello, Zazel. It's coming along, like, very slowly, I'd say, because I'm still doing this at a relatively slow pace where it's like, I get on with it when I can, or when when I feel like doing things, but at the same time, I am making progress just slowly, and that's still perfectly fine as well. Yeah, slow progress is still progress. Exactly. But... oh wait, that's not right. I was trying to generate the definition. So, to do... use overlap sphere to check for stuff here. And then... where is tick? So in tick, I'll say if B is stomping, just got back from a small Pokemon tournament held between friends. Oh, okay. How'd that all go? Like, did you do well? Did you win? Are you winning, friendo? No, you didn't really miss too much. I fixed like a little bit like earlier, but aside from that, I'm just trying to sort of, at the moment, properly implement some sort of function with the player stomping. So at the moment, it's just trying to sort of plot things out. Well, one person didn't show up, and I only won one match. However, hello Heater. Oh, you both show up at the same time. It's all. What was I doing? Is check stomp target. Check for stomp target. There we go. So that basically is there. And the one thing I would need to make, if I wanted to do a check for a certain object type or thing, is I make an interface. So, make interface for... sorry, I was watching a 2-hour... to be fair, that doesn't surprise me about you. It took me a while to get here, but that's fine. It doesn't surprise me, but it's fine. And I'll explain what this thing here means in a moment when I get round to it. So, for now I'm just going to quickly compile and get things like back up again, so I can go in and actually make the interface. I made a team that I have not tested or even looked at for several weeks, and being able to knock out a minimum of 4 out of 6 Pokemon from other teams is actually making me feel, you know what, that's good. Like, even if you're not too sort of familiar with things, if you're getting on and actually doing well with it, then it's not too bad. It's pretty good. Usually it's Luna watching the fuck-ass long videos, but this one was Minecraft, so it fits. But yeah, no, understandable. But I hope both of you are having a good day. Today has been long and emotional, as Heater already knows, but today has been long and emotional. But aside from that, I'm doing what I can. Oh, and some point later, we're also planning to have a VGC for... ah! Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff, actually. Kind of sad that, like, this time around with, like the Pokemon European Championships and whatnot being around, that I didn't get to go to the Pokemon Center. Though I've had my own reasons for not being able to go, so it's understandable, but would have liked to have gone to the Pokemon Center again. Maybe next time when it rolls around. Because I do like going every so often and getting stuff like mostly, if not only, plushies. Though I do want to get clothes from a Pokemon Center eventually, just they're so fucking expensive. I'd rather just get the plushes at that point. I'd like to go, like, like, in terms of how it is, it depends, because I've been to one twice. One during the, like Pokemon Worlds, like, finals back in 2022, and then the other one was just during the, like, the Pokemon European Championships, and... and both times were good, except the first time was an absolute painful experience, because there was such a long queue, and I got in way past my intended... Yeah, no, you remember the first one, and you remember how I was... Yeah, how I was just going on about, oh god, why is this taking so long? I was supposed to be in at this time, it is now this time, and I'm still in the queue. That was just painful. The second time was way better. Still a bit of a slog, but it was way better. And that was when I got my my life-size Sprigatito plushie. And I still... And I love that thing a lot, because it's big and it's cuddly and it's life-size. It's cute. So... Yeah, no, I got the life-size Spriggy plush. Yeah, life-size makes you think human-size, but in terms of life-size, it is just size of big green cat, and I love it so much. I also got my brother, at that point in time, I got my brother a huge Oshawott plush as well, because I saw both of the big ones, and I thought, you know what, I'll get myself this, and I'll see if he wants this, and he wanted it, so I got it for him. And I remember that day, like, just saying to friends, like, oh, I have made very questionable financial decisions. And I send them the picture of the Sprigatito and the Pokemon Center bag at the time. And they were just... I mean, if they had Wobbuffet stuff, then you would get that, or you would get Wooper, or... But seeing it as an experience... Oh yeah, I love Ditto as well. Ditto's another one. Ditto would be another one. Especially if it's like Ditto transformed as another Pokemon, because I like those plushes, they're funny looking. There's a lot of of the Pokemon plushes that I wish I had. Oh, there we go. You would, yeah, you would get a Wobbuffet or a Woob. You would be the type. I mean, you are literally the person who would get them. That's... It's funny me saying, oh, you would do that. God, like, on that note, on that subject, I'd love to go to Japan eventually, just to see things, because, like, I always see things from other people's videos or from pictures I see, and it's just, wow, this place is beautiful, and I'd love to experience things there. open with Notepad. And I'm also getting another little point of reference for me to look at while I do things, because sometimes I do forget how to properly set up interfaces. So now that I've done that, I'll close the editor and I'll go over what the hell is an interface? What is this? Why is this empty? And what does it do? And oh yeah, oh yeah, Quagsiren did. Yeah, just gonna make. Yeah, I know. Like it's good not. It's best not to like have expectations too high. It's better to temper them. But I know that there is a lot there that is pretty fun or looks great. And I'd love to see all the merch stores too, because that would be cool. Wait, but what about Clodsire? Because Clodsire is friend-shaped. Right, so interfaces. What are they, and what do they do? I'm still just gonna give the explanation anyway, because it's like, oh, I do like explaining what these things are. Oh, you're talking about trash taste. That's what you're talking about here. Yeah. Blueprint native event and blueprint callable. And I want to call this void stomp object. And I want an F-hit result. I always forget that it does this too in Rider, which is why it's so good. Anyway, so an interface, basically, if you want a thing to have, like, say, shared functionality, like, among, like, different classes, say, for example, you want to have a box being broken by a projectile, but you also want to use that projectile to just, say, damage an enemy as well, but you don't want to have to go into the projectile's code to say, oh, if it detects this, then it will do this. But if this thing that it's hitting is an enemy, then it will damage them like this. Instead, it basically just says, oh, if they implement this interface, we'll call this interface, or we'll call this method from this interface, but how it's implemented depends on whatever is using it. So you can basically just say, oh, we're just calling this one thing by name, but it is different depending on how it's implemented in another class. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm trying to find the player character. That's the header file. Whoops. Include C stomp interface.h. And now if I go down, because I was making sure that this was in place before I properly implemented, like, checking for the stomp target, because this is necessary. So though I need to also check where is... Oh yeah, sphere trace, that's it. So F hit result stomp hit equals... No wait, no, I don't need to do equals. I need to pass it into the thing that I forgot. And I know it's never used because I need to set it up. So, Kismet System Library. I will explain the words. Hold on. You know what, fuck it. I may quickly do what I did during last stream, and I may try and illustrate it, because I had fun trying to explain what normals were. And I want to be able to try and do that again, but for this or anything else. So, sphere, trace, single. Was there anything else? I know, but I do like explaining things too, so... This... I'll get the trace start. Oh, whoops! Oh, I pasted that twice. And I only want it to be cast in that place. So trace start. Trace start. Radius. Say maybe 60.f just to be on the safe side. Do that, then false. And of course there's things I'm going to have to copy just for the sake of having things like be able to be sort of implemented quickly without trying to scratch my head over things. No! That's not what I want. I wanted ignored objects, you doofus. Draw debug trace for duration. Stomp hit. And then the last thing was B ignore self, which is true. That's it. Okay, and I have the drawing tablet set. I just need to get Clip Studio open as well. So, where is Clip Studio? The last time I did like little bits of drawing stuff was the other day when I was just doing my drawing practice on the Saturday anyway, and I was just trying to refresh my memory on the structure and anatomy of arms and stuff. So I feel like, yeah, it's fine and dandy and all learning how to do poses and stuff and all those other things and practice heads, but I should also practice how, or I also want to practice how to draw arms and legs and stuff so I can slowly piece things together. But that's just like taking things one step at a time. If I do things, I do things. If I don't, then that's fine too. And I still have... I was going to draw today, but then I did not. But that's okay, Heater. Maybe you're just having one of those days. And also, still was using, like how to, like, step-by-steps as a drawing reference. And then I had, like, actual references for, like, picture references for arms. So I was doing kind of a deep dive. You did a lot today. Yeah, that's fine as well. You went outside? Holy! Okay, so now that I have that there, I'm just going to quickly sketch a thing or two out. Don't mind, like, my slightly haphazard attempt at drawing a cube. And my attempt at drawing, like, an evil kind of cylinder thing. So, say this is an enemy. Say this is a box. And this circle thing is a projectile. So, for the projectile, how I would have my enemy and my box. So, for example, say for the projectile, in the past, how I used to do things when I was sort of starting out learning game development. What am I? Fucking developing esports? But in terms of how I would write things for a projectile when I was starting out, I would say, like, collide with thing. Check through multiple things. So what do I mean by that? So in terms of checking through multiple things, which was like the key part of how this is actually kind of wrong. So I don't know if I have it like as an example in like here. I do not have any specifics. I don't have any true specifics in terms of actual gameplay stuff, but I'm gonna go and try and give a brief, like, attempt to give a brief explanation on things here. So, so say, like, in, like, a projectile, it would collide or hit with a thing, and then it would take that thing and say, oh, is it, say, one thing, then if so, do all of this here, do all of this there, and get, like, executing that specific thing. Or if it wasn't that thing, it would check if it's another thing. So, for example, it checks if the player's controller is of the player controller class by just trying to check if it fits within that type. If it does, then that works, la-di-da-di-da. If not, then nothing happens. But in other cases, if we had more than one thing it was checking between, then it would check, oh, is this thing this thing? If it is, then we do this. Is this thing this thing? Oh, then we do this instead. And while that's kind of like the simple way of doing things, or in a way the very beginner sort of way of doing things, it kind of doesn't really work in like sorry, I'm getting things a bit muddled up, but it kind of doesn't work in terms of like code length, structure, and also the fact that it's very dependent on something being a specific type or having a certain implementation or so on. Oh, you're back from the ads. Damn it, I was explaining things. Right. Long story short, how it would check multiple things, it would say, oh, if object is box, then do box things. Else, if object is enemy, do enemy things. Okay, are you with me so far on that one? If, like, how it would check is that if a projectile hit an object, it would go through something like this. It would say, is this object a box? Then we would do things with the box. If this is an enemy, then it will do things based on, like, if it's an enemy and la-di-da-di-da. So on and so forth. That's how I used to do things back when I was starting out. And, like, while it's, like, a simple and easy to understand solution if you're doing games development, at the same time, in terms of, like, oh, it's very, yeah, like, it's very dependent on, like, whether or not a thing is this type or that type, or so on. It's very dependent on that thing existing as a certain type, which doesn't work. And also it bloats code. It makes it longer in certain places, and that's not very good. So what an interface does is that basically, if you... And you're calling me sir again, goddamn. Anyway, in terms of, like, what an interface does, basically, it basically harkens back to the whole, oh, this defines, like, basically, it will define what a thing is, but not what it does. Or at the very least, not in the base class. Like, it's basically the similar sort of thing as, like, having header files in the CPP files, where header files for, like, say, the player character will say, oh, this method is this for the stomp, or this method is this for the wall jump. And then in the C++ class, that actually says, oh, the wall jump does this, the stomp actually does this at this moment when it happens. Whereas within the base, like, interface class, nothing in terms of what things actually does is defined. Like, if I go back into the code, like, you can see here, there is a header file, like a H file, and a CPP file for, like, an interface. And it does say you can basically define, like, default functionality for, like, functions defined here. You can do this. But normally what you do with an interface... Oh, that's apparently... okay? Why is it blank? Is it because I minimized it? It's because I minimized it. That was my fault. That was completely my fault. So... So anyway, as I was saying, it's the same principle of it will define what it does, what it is, but not what it does. Although it does say that you can define what it does in the interface's CPP file. But normally, what you do with interfaces is that you define what this is. So here it's stomp object, and say for example, like, I don't know. If I were to, say, implement it in the player and I'd get, like, the way you would... is that you would say... I'm trying to remember the exact way of doing this in Unreal. This is kind of... Oh, whoops. And I'm only just doing this for the sake of example. And now I also need to look at... another file for reference, just so I can... Yep, virtual, right. Okay, so it is doing the thing, right, so... If I go down here, and then say virtual, whoops, void, stomp, object. Oh yeah, it does it, it fills it in for me. So, to explain what the whole, like, it's basically the same method that was defined in the stomp interface. So, we're basically implementing the interface so that it can use whatever methods are written in that interface. However, how it's written or defined in, like, a different object's header file is basically saying, oh, it's this method name, but then we also note it as an implementation. And we do this basically because if I go back to back to Clip Studio, say the projectile was to hit the box, but the enemy also has like this implementation sort of defined. Calling, like on hit, when it calls the do hickamajiggy, like the method. I'm not doing a good job of that. I should also double check things as well, so with another file. Because I've been so busy with things that I have, in a way, forgotten little bits, and that's not really good. Oh wait, no, that's not the one. It's... Open with Notepad. Oh, this is taking a while. Why? So, oh yeah, right. And when we... Right, back into Clip Studio, so la-di-da-di-da, it hits. Yes! Answer! At the moment, this is looking a little bit like the insane ramblings of a mental ward patient. But, yes, what is your question, Heater? If else statements can get super bloaty when you use them everywhere, like if you're not using them too often, honestly difficult to say. Like, it's not so much the if else statements, it's what you throw inside of them that gets a bit bloaty. Like, if else statements on their own, they're fine, unless you're using them too much, in which case there are better options that are faster. But at the same time, is a lot of times, like, if it's not how many of the if else statements there are, it's definitely a case of what you throw in them. Either like a large chunk of code that could be either put into its own method, or like, especially if it's repeated, but or it's just like code that you can just call from just a different class entirely. So a lot of it is very dependent on stuff. But in terms of this, it's like, oh, we could easily just call this on each one, but then we just have to, like, for each different type of object, we just call, like, its own method that is specifically for interactions with stomping. And that, while that kind of works, at the same time, you could just have an interface, like, say, oh, you just call this one method, and then in each different object, the implementation would be entirely different. So, for example, if you hit the box, it would call the boxes, like, hit underscore implementation, for example. And then whatever the box does specifically on the implementation of that method, then it will just do it for that thing. Like, they have a time and a place, but generally, if it's more complex, then normally something is, like, better. There is a better way to try and streamline it rather than just do that. In a sense, yeah. But back to this, so the box could have its own implementation, or it will have its implementation method, but it will do what it wants in its version, and then the enemy will say, oh, it will also have, like, the implementation method, but it will do what it needs to do in its version of the method, for example. And that's basically the whole thing with interfaces. You just have one method call for, say, an object that implements that method, but what it does specifically depends on what is written for that bit of code, either in C++ or in blueprints, because as I've defined in the do thingamajiggy with the interface header file, I said it's blueprint native, but it's also blueprint callable. So it can be used and also just... like, this thing can be implemented in blueprints, and it can... yeah. It's basically kind of like, oh, this is just a very abstract thing that we're doing here, but then when it's actually called on the thing, it becomes a bit more specific. Like, it's trying to make it so it's trying to make it a bit more agnostic rather than saying, yes, we specifically depend on this thing having this specific thing, and rather we're just saying, yeah, we'll just call this on this, and if it calls on the thing. Kind of, yes. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Kind of like the contents and then the chapter. Like, in a way, that does kind of work. So... anyway, I'm losing myself amongst some of the programs that I have open. I don't need Spotify open at the moment because that was only for like waiting for stream to start, and we're pretty much well into stream at the moment. So close that so I can navigate a little bit easier. But and also I don't need the actual like I'll keep Paint open, but I don't need the actual opening window for Clip Studio there, so it's a bit easier to sift through. So, back to doing the code stuff. I don't need, like... I was just doing this for demonstration purposes, but basically that does that when you're implementing it, and in order to implement it properly, you just say... you just include the header for the interface, and you write the thing there. And that's basically it. So we get rid of this from here, because we're basically doing this here in the... like the C++ class anyway, but only to check if an object that's being stomped on is the thing. Or if any objects at all has the interface. So if stomp hit dot be blocking hit right. Now I remember. So we have... and also this song is... this is Eternal Land from Xenoblade Chronicle 2, Denag Desert. There we go. Anyway, back to Rider, because yes, yeah, I was doing this here. So equals... I can't remember. Do I cast this or do I... I had the file open and then I closed it because I was like, you know what? I don't really need this open because I'm trying to keep it from becoming too cluttered. Yeah, no, it is casting it, so... Should actually say if it's get actor instead, because that actually implies that there is an actor in this thing. So stomp interface equals cast by stomp interface, and then we say stomp hit dot get actor if stomp interface. Then we say stomp interface dot stomp object underscore implementation, and we just throw in stomp hit. So basically, what this thing here does, we're doing the same thing as we were doing for checking for the wall jump, where like we're using this sphere trace to check if like there is a wall to jump off of. But here we're checking to see if there is an object. Like first we're checking to see if like there is an object below the player's feet when they're stomping. And then we're checking to see if it implements the interface. We're basically saying, oh, so we have this object here. Does it implement this interface that we just made? If it does implement the interface, then we'll call the stomp object underscore implementation. So basically, what that object in particular will do when this is called, that will be executed on that object. And it will be a bit easy to explain when I have an actual object to test this with. So, speaking of, this should be... yeah, this should be all sorted now. So, if we throw that on to the thing and let it compile, because this will take its time, as usual, then hopefully by the time that this is done, we can get, you know, like, this in and run a test on it. Also, I think the funny thing that I've been seeing like for like the past like hour or so since I got home is the whole sort of people making jokes about the solar eclipse and oh, that random kid when I tell him to stare into the solar eclipse. You when your eyes explode. Like, it's either, like, people, like, turning into dust, like, their eyes just burning up, or just fucking, people doing things. Just, yeah, no, it's quite a bit like Final Fantasy XIV players that I see making jokes about, oh, they failed look-away mechanics because they didn't look away from the eclipse. On the real, when I heard it was happening, I had to try my hardest not to go take a look. I mean, I've had other things happening today, so it was very easy not to take a look. It was very easy not to take a look because I had other things to do today. Ooh, jeez Louise. Also, what song is this? Is Blade Barracks from Xenoblade Chronicles X. So that's why I didn't recognize it. I have never played Xenoblade Chronicles X because it was on the Wii U. The demons, Tom. The demons were in my head. They were saying, do something funny, Heater. Look at it. But yeah, no, I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles X. Despite loving Xenoblades 1, 2, and 3, even though I'm a little bit indifferent towards 2, I have never played X because it was on the Wii U, and I never had a Wii U. And it's kind of sad that X hasn't gotten the port for the Switch yet. Despite me kind of insisting that, yeah, you know what, it's not, like, part of the whole saga with 1, 2, and 3, because they're all kind of tied together in a way, and X just kind of exists. But it is kind of sad that, like, it, like, in terms of, like... No, that was Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was the one that got the new 3DS port. Because that was how I got into the series. Like, I got interested in the series because of Shulk being in Smash, and then I got to play Xenoblade Chronicles 1 because of the new 3DS port. And while admittedly, like, concessions had to be made for, like, the 3DS port, and I look at it compared to the Wii version, I'm thinking, but at the same time, it was my way of experiencing it for the first time, and I'm glad I did play it. Because now I won't shut the hell up about it. And I both apologize and not apologize for the fact that I love the series to death. Because you have to deal with me talking about how much I love it every so often on stream or just outside of stream. Also, it's still taking its time. This is taking a long time. It's always the bigger changes, like... Yeah, I would like to play Xenoblade Chronicles X someday. And it would be very good if Monolith Soft did do a port of X for Switch, because... I mean, 1, 2, and 3 are on the Switch. It would be kind of a shame if they didn't. Though I can understand if they're wanting to try and focus and do other things, or try and work on Xenoblade 4. Because 3 is not going to be the last game. They've already said 3 is not the last game, but it is the last in a saga. And then the next game is going to be like the start of, like, new bits. There is a reason why 3 is the end of a saga, but that's for people to play the games and to find out. But I did try and play Xenoblade 1, like, Definitive Edition, on stream 3 years ago, almost. I tried starting a playthrough, and then I never finished it, because I was jumping between that and Kingdom Hearts, and other things too, and I just, well... Like, maybe eventually I'll go, like, play Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on stream again and be like, you know what? I may have played this game before, but I'm just going to drag you through, this game with me, and you will see why I love it so dearly. Unless people want to experience it for themselves, in which case, you know what? They can do that as well. Also, in terms of, like, other games that, like, I start and never finish, I remember September 2022, like a few weeks after my birthday, I bought Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time. I think I bought it pre-owned, but I bought it for Switch. And I started the playthrough then, and I got a little bit of the ways into the game, and then I just stopped playing it, and I never finished it. And recently I decided, you know what, I'm just going to start a new playthrough, because I just don't want to have to try and pick up from where I was, and I'm trying to do it at my own pace. I think at the same time, when I was trying to play it originally, I was jumping between that, the Crash Insane trilogy, a whole bunch of other things too, and there was things happening at the time, and it was just... Wow, I own it on Xbox, but I can't remember if I own it anywhere else. I mean, if you don't own it anywhere else, you can get it on Steam. I think, yeah, you can get it on Steam. You can just get it on PC if you... Or unless you just prefer to stick with Xbox, which is also okay. I mean, at the moment, I've stuck with the Switch version because I got it, like... And, well... Also, can't really use my consoles anymore is the thing, got no space, apart from Switch. Yeah, space kinda sucks when you don't have that much of it. It's always better when you're able to just kind of have the room to put things in. Like, it's the reason why I always say to myself whenever I see, like, whenever I go into an entertainment exchange and I see a PS1 or a PS2 or a Nintendo Wii on sale, and I think, you know what, I want to get myself one of those, but only when I have enough space. But, yeah, like, I do want to try and actually finish a playthrough of Crash 4, because from what I remember hearing from watching Cad Icarus's video on Crash 4 that he made, like, after, like, fully 100%, like, 100% completing it, it's an absolute nightmare to fully complete in 100% because there's so much you have to do. Like it, but at the same time, it's like, I do want to complete it at the very least just a normal playthrough, and if I decide to torture myself to just get all the collectibles and do everything, then I will do that if I feel like it. It's just dependent on how I feel. But there's a whole bunch else that I want to play as well. That's the thing about video games, video gammons. You do not find the time to actually play so many of them. And yet I find so much time just to sink into Stardew Valley, which has become concerning. Like, if I go into my recents on Steam, like, yeah, there's the 4.8 hours of content warning that we played on and off stream. There's, like, little bits of Destiny 2 that I've done for raiding, which will probably go up starting from Wednesday because of stream, and also after that as well, because there's things I'm going to have to do for that. There's, like... Guilty Gear's a given, that's 10.7 hours in the last 2 weeks. Because I play it, like, I played it a fair amount. There was also stream as well. But then there was also just generally playing with Dragon. But then Stardew Valley is like, oh, you've played 55.1 hours in the past 2 weeks. Are you okay? So... Like, I could have the time to play other things, but I choose to focus my time onto doing Stardew Valley, because I'm Stardew pilled right now. In a concerning way. Also, I know this has definitely been a thing that's been going around, but... but the whole Nintendo shutting down the online for Wii U and 3DS sucks. Like, it's sad. Like, I know it was going to happen eventually, but it's still sad to see, because there's, like... so many games that are just... like, so much of the functionality is gone, or the actual whole game is gone, like in the case of Splatoon 1. Like, with the Pokemon games on 3DS, you lose the ability to trade online, and do battles online, and all the other online stuff. With Kid Icarus Uprising, you lose the best mode! Yeah, like... it happens if you somehow forget about it, which is kind of sad. But Kid Icarus Uprising loses the best mode, and you lose all of the spot pass shit too! Like, if you were to restart a Tomodachi Life save, then you don't get any of the little special spot pass clothes. Which sucks. Because there's many little spot pass stuff that you would have gotten playing Tomodachi Life in like the first year or so of its release. And this is another reason why Tomodachi Life and Kid Icarus Uprising need Switch ports. I mean, aside from Kid Icarus Uprising being an absolute banger of a game, and Tomodachi Life being so good, it's just all of this stuff that we're losing out on. Like, sure, with Tomodachi Life, you can still use Street Pass. Same with Kid Icarus Uprising, like for weapon gems and stuff. But without the Spot Pass, you don't get some of the little clothes to Tomodachi Life. And you lose the best mode for Kid Icarus Uprising. You lose the multiplayer. You lose the 3v3 light versus dark mode, which is so fucking sick. Like, that's so sick. Over 12 years ago, back when, not long after Kid Icarus Uprising was released, and I was getting into playing that game for the first time, it was hella hype. It was absolutely hype. That was so cool for me at the time. Like, I had so much fun playing the multiplayer. Like, if it wasn't directly playing online with randoms, it was just doing like playing locally against my brother, where we just play with computer team members and we just play against each other. Like, that's how much I loved the multiplayer in Kid Icarus Uprising. It was that game overall is so cool. I love it so much, and I wish it would get a port, but I just don't know if it will ever happen, because Sakurai's always like, oh, I wonder if someone will pick up that game and make a port for Switch. Like, but why would you do this? Why would you do this to me? Like, every so often you name drop the game, or you just talk about it a little bit on your channel, and just it's just upsetting me. It just upsets me. But from what I can hear, or what I actually know, there are at least From what I know, there are some people trying to make, like, replacements for, like, the Wii U and 3DS, like, netcode servers and stuff. I think, yeah, it's Pretendo Network. They're making replacement, servers for 3DS and Wii U. I can't do with that song because that's a sad song. Also, this is still taking a little bit of time, despite, you know, being partway through finishing the compilation. God damn. Like, come on, you're part of the way there. You can do it. Oh, hey, there we go. But yeah, I want my Me Sims game. Oh god, 10 years ago. 10 years ago when I got Tomodachi Life for my birthday, I was like, wow, this game is funny. Even though you physically don't do too much, it's just keeping an eye on the islanders, seeing them make friends and watching things unfold. I love the hell out of it. Although questionable decisions were made to have my me marry someone who I'm not friends with anymore. Like, I don't know why I did that at the time, but now I look back and think, wow, I should not have done that. That was kind of cringe. Bro, I would literally just make all the Mob Psycho characters and make myself date Reagan. See, I know that if we were to get an updated Tomodachi Life, it would be a lot more open with like how characters can date and stuff. But I would not. I know that if you wanted to date Reagan, Heater, if you wanted your me to date Reagan, then you would have to make Reagan a girl. You would have to make Reagan a girl if you wanted to date her. Because yeah, it was made in an age where fucking things weren't so progressive, or like things were slowly becoming progressive. You're transmask king. Hell yeah. Right. Right now, the editor is just about open. The editor is open, right. So it's no longer just about open, the editor is open. Okay, so his sex icon is female and that is okay, my male wife. Okay. Is this Prison Island? Is this the fucking... Oh, wait, I muted the tab on Opera. Whoops. I was clicking... Yeah, it's Prison Island, I knew it. Not Prison Island from Sonic Adventure 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 has its own Prison Island. So let's see, temp objects. So I'm going to make a blueprint class, make it an actor. Low poly playground be like BP underscore temp box. So now that I have that code compiled and sorted, we're going to do a thing here. So I'm making a temporary little test object, and I'm going to add a static mesh. And I'm going to set that static mesh as the root, because that's what I want. Shape cube, static mesh cube. Whoa. It's almost Blender, except it's not. So it's class settings. Yeah, inherit implemented interfaces. So if, as you can see here, the stomp interface that I made can be implemented into this class or into this blueprint. So if I say that, oh, I should also hydrate. Otherwise, Zazel will definitely tell me to do it, because they will say, oh, the bot said it, do it! And I know you're there, Zazel. I know you're waiting to tell me to actually hydrate, because I know you've done it before. I know you do this. See? There they go. Right. So, because I've implemented this interface, I can now... No, I'm not blaming you for ensuring I stay hydrated. I'm just saying that you will try and make sure I stay hydrated. But yes, because we've implemented the interface, we were able to implement the event, which was the stomp object thing that I wrote in the code earlier. But because, like, it's calling this thing, from this point onwards, I can basically say what I want this thing to do. So, for example, if I want it to just simply print... For now, I just want it to print a string that says box stomp. So, box stomped, and then... Yeah, that's about it, really. I think I want to change the static mesh so it doesn't match with the other cubes. Cube, SN cube. Right, I'm gonna throw this cube right here. It's taking its time again, because... post-compile blues. I know that feeling. Right. That's weird. Is it because it doesn't simulate physics? Simulate physics. I feel like I was supposed to activate simulate physics and simulation generates la-di-da-di-da. I also should have run a double check to make sure... Wait, am I actually... Yeah, I am calling it. So, there's something that I've obviously forgotten about. I need to... Let's see... Stomp. Check the stomp target. Check the stomp target is there, so if stomp target, get actor. If stomp hit, get actor. I also should switch back into code because I forgot. There we go. And this is only like a one-line code change. So I'm hoping that recompiling this doesn't take too long, but I know what it's like at points. And get flipped. But no, why did you flip me around? That's not no. He's not the right way around. Why is he not the... Also, the box is gone. I just realized. Right. Box disappeared, probably because I just prematurely closed it and I didn't save the map. So that's not working. Let me look something up quickly. That doesn't... I don't want to have to watch a video during streams. Let me think. There's something that I'm missing or doing wrong, because it's not detecting it as, like, the interface. So... Let's see. Because I've set this up correctly in terms of, like, this side. But it's the other side of things where I feel like I'm doing a little bit wrong. Which is understandable. There are things that I'm still trying to work my head around. So... I should at the very least say test to see if there's an object actually being picked up. So this is just another single line. Oh, whoops! And then text, object, name. I can't remember if this is the formatting for, so dereference. No heater. No. No. So dereference, stomp. Stomp hit. Get actor. think this is correct. Unless the code actually says, you know what, fuck, screw you, this isn't right, you've done it wrong. Yeah. I'm sure it will tell me when I try compiling this. Oh, that actually worked! Do, 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 do. That is open now, so... swap back to this now. Right. And I didn't save the scene again, so I need to drag this back in. Because I need to see if it's actually detecting things properly. Right, so it is working. It is detecting an object. But for some reason, it's not detecting the fact that it's implementing the interface. And all of this to try and get, like, stomping working. Right, so found the stompable object. That's not being... So... This probably won't work, but we're going to give it a go. Okay, so at the moment the code's not throwing a tantrum. So that's a good start. I feel like there's been multiple times today where I've just been thinking, you know, this is not gonna work because like this feels like a very out there change to make, and it just works. Still nothing. Right. I check right, so oh right, there's a specific for this. Right, back to code. It does kind of frown when you get things wrong, and it's not nice. But you know, so instead of this, I'm gonna rewrite this whole bit here. Say if I'm just double checking, so it's if stomp hit dot get actor dot playing Crash Insane Trilogy. Yo! Like I fully beat Crash 1 on the Insane Trilogy, but I never finished Crash 2. And I want to get around to it as well, and Crash 3 as well. Like, we'll do this step by step this time, so instead of actually doing the thing, we'll just and if this does work, then whatever I was doing before was not the intended way to trigger a thing in Blueprints. It seems like this may take a while because I rewrote parts of the code entirely. Oh no. Seeing it's seeing Xenoblade fans make jokes about the eclipse as well, because there is a thing that happens in 3 that specifically involves an eclipse. God, seeing this one account that I follow like talk about like the anime, not the terrible live action, but the original like Avatar: The Last Airbender makes me want to try and find time to rewatch it again, because I love that series a lot. I love it a lot, and I would like to rewatch it at some point because it's so good. And then actually try and finish Legend of Korra, because I've never actually fully watched Legend of Korra. I think I only ever really fully watched Season 1 of it, and that was it. And I guess because I had the expectations of what The Last Airbender was, I kind of sort of was constantly comparing it to The Last Airbender, and because of that I feel like I could never really properly enjoy Legend of Korra while I was constantly making these comparisons. So I think next time I ever get around to watching Legend of Korra, I'm just going to watch it just in a very sort of open mind, rather than constantly be like, ah, yes, but The Last Airbender did this, and it did this like this, and it did this like that. When both shows are very different and have a different sort of outlook and approach to things, especially in regards to the narratives they try to tell. You're taking your time there. Do, do, do. I know one thing that I'm trying to consider is when I start like another big playthrough series on this channel, and when I do, what it's going to be, because like I've already spitballed like a few ideas on Twitter before, like about either doing the other Kingdom Hearts games or doing an Elden Ring base game playthrough or doing some other things that I want to do, but it's trying to pick from the options that I have and trying to say, you know what, we'll do this because this seems like it will be really fun. And then there's the matter of like despite Baldur's Gate and all of its praises and stuff, I haven't done a full playthrough of this game at all. So, like, maybe that's an option, but I feel like that would be many, many streams of just doing Baldur's Gate things, and I feel like I would need to rework when I stream to properly fit so much in. I mean, to be fair, it would just be like a regular D&D session. You do it for a few hours and then you stop. But I'd want to be able to cram... Like, if I was to play Baldur's Gate 3 on stream, I'd want to be able to cram as much as I possibly could into each one, so I'm not spending so many streams doing it. But that is an option. There are other options of what I want to make playthroughs on. And then again, that's just like, oh. Yeah, also, I'm going to quickly go to the toilet and be right back. I'll leave you with the music for now. The code will just still be compiling, and I'm not going to throw it onto the BRB screen, but I'll be back soon. Just give me a few moments. Okay, sorry about that. I'm all back now. And I see that it still hasn't fully compiled. That's just brilliant. It do be taking its time. Ugh. Which I guess isn't so bad sometimes, but sometimes I do wish that it wouldn't take so long. And also, yeah, no, it's still going. But hopefully, this check actually works on checking if a blueprint object, like a purely blueprint object, does just kind of implement an interface. You have stopped playing Insane Trilogy. Oh. Well, that didn't last long. You couldn't get through a single level? You fully rage... Aww. Oh! Oh, build failed. Static class is not a member of iStomp. Oh, wait, I forgot. Yep, I forgot to say my interface. I've lost where the thing is. Doesn't seem right. You can... Right, maybe I should rearrange that. This one level I'm on is such bullshit. There's like 0 checkpoints. Which one? You Kismet System Library. Implement. does implement interface. Don't remember a not opening game again. Yeah, that's fair. And now this is going to take a long time to recompile again, because I've restructured things again. Ah! No! That's kind of sad. But I mean, to be fair, it took me a while to probably get into playing just Crash 1. It took me a while to probably get into playing, like, Crash 1 on the Insane Trilogy, so I understand if, like, there's a bit of frustration with it. And that one succeeded, and that didn't take so long. Okay. And now, it's taking its time again. So, what song is this one from? Is this... Oh, whoops, I muted it again. Oh, this is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Oh, whoops, that was my fault. I thought there was a double jump. Okay, that one actually works, so... So, that did work. So now I'm just trying to think, in terms of how I actually call things, so... Why? I'm trying to look up resources for this, but... right, let's see if... apparently that worked. So I stomp interface. Execute stomp object. Stomp hit dot get actor, and then stomp hit. Supposedly this should just work, because this just calls it directly, and then whatever implementation exists, then it will just be called for that object. So this has been a little bit of a learning experience. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have that implemented, yeah, supposedly this should work, and I should... There we go. So, if this goes the way I want it to... There we go! That actually worked that time. That works! That actually works! So if we go back into the temp box, then you'll see that in its implementation of the stomp object method or function, it says print box stomp to the screen, and that's exactly what it did. So now, what I want to do is... say, destroy actor. I want to destroy this actor when it is detected with the stomp. Because then that's how a stomp would work on, like, breakable objects. You would have it just be destroyed. And again, let's do that again just for, like... That works! So, stomping actually does kind of work as a, like, if you're destroying objects that are meant to be crushed or destroyed by the stomp, then that works. But if we were trying to say, oh, we damage an enemy, then we can also simply just say, when on the enemy side, it will just take damage. And if it isn't dead yet, then the enemy will just keep moving around. If they're supposed to... like have their health reduced to 0, then they get destroyed. So that works. That is a thing that works now, which is good. So we've got the alignment for wall jumping working properly now. We've got an air dash that cannot be spammed repeatedly and only can be used twice. We have a stomp that destroys boxes. We have the sprint, of course. In terms of any additional mechanics, I don't think there's too much else I want to add for the player, because I don't want to, like, bloat it too much, and also I don't want to overwork myself. So I feel like 1 or 2 more, probably 1 more, and then I will just kind of leave it there for the player and say, you know what, that's the player's kit done, now let's try and work on things around the player. So, bearing in mind, like, although this, like, air dashing and stomping and stuff, this is all for a platformer. I mean, stomping is a given, wall jumping is kind of a given, running and sprinting is a given, but this is all for a platformer that I'm wanting to try and make, and I am not too sure what else I could add in terms of, like, a movement mechanic, because, like, I'm perfectly fine in terms of, like, whatever movement mechanics I have added at the moment. So, and also just to demonstrate how things would look in the test environment, just jump. I mean, of course, eventually, later down the line, visually, I want it so that whenever the player enters an area like this, or an area like this one here, the camera shifts, so they're not just kind of like looking at the arse end of the character all the time, that it's actually looking at a perspective that works and doesn't feel like the camera is, that like their view is being pushed towards the character. Like, it has to work. So, and also, in terms of shaders and stuff, I do want to do, like, funny shader stuff, because for one little prototype that I was helping, like, a bunch of people with, I looked into making a cell shader for post-processing, and it was very cool to learn about how to do that. And I'd like to learn how to make something along those lines again, but for this project, either that same shader or something similar or very different, just to give a different style. But that's later down the line when I have, like, things working functionally and I want to sort of change how things look visually. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But in terms of those fancy schmancy movement mechanics, that works perfectly fine. So I think one or two more little bits that I'll do, and then I'll call stream there. But it's deciding what I want to do extra, or what other little bits that I want to do. Tom, I have a very busy day. Or have had a very busy day, so I think I'm going to make like an 80-year-old granddad and go to bed early. Yeah, that makes sense. You should probably get, like, an early day heater. That's perfectly fine. I hope you have a nice sleep, and thank you for stopping by. Have a good night, heater. Like, for another project that I was trying to experiment with stuff with, I did want to try and add wall running. But that would take a long time to set up, and may possibly require reworking so much of what I've already done. So I'd say in terms of wall running is definitely off the table here. But maybe like a wall hang or like climbing up onto a ledge could work too, but only in like places that would allow you to do it. How would I do it? I'd have to like remove all the stuff in Clip Studio just to illustrate it. So just so I can properly, it only lets you go back like a certain amount of changes before you have to just erase it yourself. But we're going to Clip Studio. Gonna go here. Now we're here. I think for now I'll just do the illustration for it. I won't actually try and implement how it would like function, because I want to be able to take time to sort of think about it amongst doing many other things. So for the moment, I'll try and illustrate how I would want it to work. And what better way to do that than to just scribble and do stuff right here. So say for example, here we have the player. They're the stick person at the moment. So the player is here. But they're not facing anything at the moment. We'll get onto that. So So the player is here, and they have a wall here. So normally, under like a normal circumstance, like they would only just kind of be able to jump off of the wall. They wouldn't be able to sort of climb onto the top of it. They'd only be able to walk, like, jump off of the wall. Because that's how I have things at the moment. They can jump off walls, but they can't climb up to the top of them. Unless it's, like, specifically a wall jump setup where it's, like, a vertical climb. So, if I was to draw, like, a little bite-sized sketch of this. So, player is here. This is, like, one side of the wall, jump, climb, like the vertical climb, and this is the other one. Like, I've already had this implemented in the test environment as the demonstration, so like they would go from here to here to here to here, and then to like whatever is on top of the wall here, or what's on the other side, depending on if I have like a flat ledge or if I have them just go straight down. Like, that's how that would work for that. But at the moment, there's no discernible way to just mount onto the, like, climb onto the top of a wall. So what I would want to do, like, when I get around to doing this, is that I would have, say, a wall that would still act as a normal wall. Like, the player can jump off of it, but there's, like, a certain part of it that, like, say that this would be the ledge. So the ledge would be there. And say if the player was jumping towards the wall, and in the check, because I already have a check that goes from like the middle of the player's body to the wall to see if they wall jump. I would also have a check probably closer to the top of the player's body to see if there is like this ledge attachment here. And if the ledge attachment happens to exist, then so if ledge attachment. So if the ledge attachment exists, what I would want to happen, like, of course I would want it to play a climbing animation, at which point, I guess, I don't know how I would get that to function in terms of moving the player either during the animation or, like, after the animation. That would look kind of weird. But I would work that out when it happens. But yeah, hold on. So if ledge attachment, then ideally, like, for a functionality first kind of situation, the instant that the player detects like the ledge attachment, and like or if it has a ledge attachment and they successfully detect it, then I want the player to be on top of the wall. Like, in terms of like a functionality first kind of thing where I'm just making sure this works, I would just teleport them to the top of the wall and that's about it. That's what I would have happen. Though when I have like animations and stuff in place, then I would try and make it so that instead of like being instantly teleported, they would... Oh, whoops. They would grab onto the wall first. And then pull themselves up. That's what I would want to have happen if they had the animations. Or if once I get the animations. But for a functionality first, I'd want them to be teleported to the top of the wall. So, to put it simply, that's how I would want to implement the ledge climbing stuff. But in terms of actually implementing it, I will leave that until the next time I run a game dev stream, because I think I will call things here. So, to those who showed up, to everyone watching things back on the VOD, whether it is here on Twitch or on YouTube, depending on when you're watching it, thank you ever so much for showing up to stream. I apologize for the slightly delayed start time, because today has been a long day, a long emotional day, so I was pretty late getting back. But yeah, in terms of next stream, as long as nothing happens, it will still be on Wednesday, and I will still be diving into the Destiny 2 Into the Light update, which comes out tomorrow. And, well, technically today now, but you know what I mean. If you're not in Britain, then that would of course be tomorrow. But you know what I mean. But that comes out like 6 PM on the 9th of April, where it's like the 9th of April now. But, well, I have already made the decision to reserve that for Wednesday's stream, so waiting a day and then jumping into it. And I know that I could possibly sort of break my own rules for my schedule and just say, you know what, fuck it, we're doing that today, but I want to still give myself the day break and then go ahead with doing that. So that's my plan, that's what I'm doing, and that's happening on that day. We're going into Destiny 2 Into the Light on that day. So, yeah, that's my plans for Wednesday stream. For Friday stream, not too sure yet, but we'll get there we'll get across that bridge when we get there. But anyway, thank you ever so much for showing up. I really appreciate it, and as always, if you like these streams, then give the channel a follow. It helps a lot. If you want to keep up with like stream announcements, like, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a few months. Like, the last time I did a Destiny stream was like the start of this year, and I did it as a sort of revisiting my roots kind of thing. But it's been a while since I did a proper one. So yeah, as I was saying, if you want to keep up with stream announcements and stuff, either follow me on Twitter or join the Discord, which is through this link here. If it's for Twitter, then it's in my bio. But I think I am also working on a whole ass socials link, or socials command for Nightbot. But yeah, that will happen when I can get around to it. But thank you ever so much. Yeah, I'm shamelessly plugging the Discord. But thank you ever so much, and as always, I hope to see you all again in the very next one. Bye bye.